morning. I'm Mayor Tony Gross, and I hereby call to order the February 18th, 2021 public hearing meeting of the Kingston Springs Board of Commissioners. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and in accordance with Governor Bill Lee's Executive Order 16, this meeting is being conducted with limited physical public access. The meeting is being made available, however, to the public participants via live video stream on the Zoom application. Do I have a motion to approve the Kingston Springs Board of Commissioners finds conducting this public hearing meeting by electronic means is necessary to protect the health and safety and welfare in light of the COVID-19 pandemic? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve, Glenn.
Do we have a second?
Second, Mike.
John, could you call the roll?
Carolyn Clark,
Yes.
Josh Etherly, absent. Tony Gross,
Yes.
Mike Hargis,
Yes.
Glenn Remick.
Yes.
All right. Sorry, I'm getting text messages on my computer screen right now, and that's what that ding is. I apologize. The only item that we have for the public hearing is open to public comments on Ordinance 21-001, amending certain provisions of the Town of Kingston Springs Municipal Code, zoning ordinance, sign ordinance, and other ordinances and resolutions to provide for a comprehensive list of fees to be set forth in Appendix A to the Town of Kingston Springs Municipal Code. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to this? All right, well then with that, we will adjourn the public hearing. All right, we'll move on to City Commission. Once again, I am Mayor Tony Gross, and I hereby call to order the February 18th, 2021 meeting of the Kingston Springs Board of Commissioners due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And in accordance with Governor Bill Lee's Executive Order 16, this meeting is being conducted with limited physical public access. The meeting is being made available, however, to the public participants via the live video stream on the Zoom application. Actually, hold on. So, do we have a motion to approve that the Kingston Springs Board of Commissioners finds conducting this meeting by electronic means is necessary to protect the public health, safety, and welfare in light of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Motion, Glenn.
Do we have a second?
Second, Carolyn.
John, could you call the roll?
Carolyn Clark,
Yes.
Josh Etherly, absent. Tony Gross,
Yes.
Mike Hargis,
Yes.
Glenn Remick.
Yes.
And I jumped ahead a little bit there. John, could you also call the roll once again? I know this is always so repetitive during these Zoom meetings, but just for the meeting itself.
Carolyn Clark,
Here.
Josh Etherly, absent. Tony Gross,
Here.
Mike Hargis,
Here.
Glenn Remick.
Here. Yes.
All right, we have a quorum. So item 6 is a motion to approve the January 21 2021 public hearing meeting minutes. Do we have a motion?
Motion, Glenn.
Do we have a second?
Second, Mike.
John, could you call the roll?
Carolyn Clark,
Yes.
Josh Etherly's absent. Tony Gross,
Yes.
Mike
Still
Hargis,
getting-
Glenn,
I'm here.
and Glenn Remick.
Yes.
Yes,
All
sir.
right.
I meant yes.
Yes, okay, gotcha. All right, item 7 is a motion to approve the January 21st, 2021 City Commission meeting minutes.
I'm getting a lot of feedback. I think Bill Rogers might have his mic open and it's feeding back. Mr. Rogers, is it possible to turn off? There we go. Thank
I
you.
think he muted. I think we're good now. I was getting a little bit. I think he's okay. Well, when we get to you, Mr. Rogers, we will we'll deal with that then. So thank you for muting your mic, though. All right.
Hi, Bill.
So
good to hear from you.
yeah, did we have a do we have a motion and a second for the meeting minutes?
For the public
Motion,
hearing,
Glenn.
yes. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Glenn, you already in motion?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second, Carolyn.
All right. John, could you call the roll?
Carolyn Clark,
Yes.
Josh Etherly's absent. Tony Gross,
Yes.
Mike Hargis,
Yes.
Glenn Remick.
Yes, here.
Okay, the next is the agenda. There's one new item. It's going to be item under new business. It will be item J, and it's going to be a motion to approve payment for $4,492.80 to TDOT for the Community Transportation Planning Grant. That's our commitment to that our portion. So that would be the only new item. Do we have a motion to approve the meeting agenda?
Motion to approve. Glenn.
Do we have a second?
Second, Carolyn.
John, could you call the roll?
Carolyn Clark.
Yes.
Josh Heatherly is absent. Tony Gross.
Yes.
Mike Hargis.
Yes.
Glenn Remick.
Yes.
All right, the motion passes. Did I miss, where is, I'm looking at my agenda here and somehow I've missed, oh, I'm missing a page. There we go. Oh, sorry, I got my pages flipped around wrong here, possibly. There we go. Sorry, I had my agenda wrong, and that item was wrong. It was
No, that's right. It's
item F,
14J.
item F, correct? Sorry.
No, you're right. It's 14J.
Oh, it is 14J. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Got everything. I've got my papers all kind of strewn out on my desk here and not in a very great way. No, I could have looked at the screen too. All right. We have announcements from commissioners. I'll start with you, Carolyn. Do you have anything you'd like to?
I've
Sure.
got two things.
Sure.
I'm sure you all got a copy of the email from the Silver Ox business that was doing the cleanup in Pegram.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to make an announcement of that. I thought it was a great idea. They're going to be starting that on the next Saturday, I believe the 27th from 10 to 12, cleaning up from Reliant Bank up 3 miles on 249. And they're inviting the community to be part of that. And it looks like they're going to make it maybe a once a month and be throughout. I don't know if they'll come into Kingston Springs or it'll just be Pegram, but be a good idea for help cleaning up our sister city. And the other announcement was wanted to thank Glenn Remick. A friend of mine, William Tidwell, was on his way to feed his horses, couldn't get there by his own vehicle, and Glenn picked him up and took him to feed his horses. So thank you, Glenn.
Welcome.
Very good. Very good. Glenn, do you have any announcements?
Yes. March 20th, the Harpeth Conservancy and the town of Kingston Springs will be planting 300 trees at Burns Park in honor of Jessica Graham.
Awesome.
We're taking volunteers. You can sign up to be a part of that. And I just cannot express how thrilled the community has been with the amount of the great effort our road guys and maintenance guys in the town itself has done at maintaining this ice and snow off our roads. They have been wonderful and tireless for the last week. So I want to commend against our employees.
Very good. Very good. Mike, do you have anything?
No, I don't have anything, Tony. Thank you.
All right. Well, I'll second a couple things there. As far as the cleanup thing, that's an excellent idea. I'm excited about that next Saturday, and also Public Works and also our public safety officers have just been tremendous this week. A lot of extra hours they've had to put in kind of difficult situations, and I think we've all appreciated it. We had by far, I think, the best roads in Middle Tennessee. We always do. They just do such a great job. And then I'll also thank Glenn because he helped get my dad out of the ditch in front of his house. So. All right. We'll move on to community input and concerns. If you're present, just you can speak up now. And I can't see everybody's picture on the new screen here, so I don't know who all's here. But all you have to do is state your name and address, and you're free to address the commission.
Yes, my name is Bill Rogers. I'm at 1660 South Harpeth Road, Kingston Springs. I'd like to address 2 of the new business items. One being the financial aid to the art.
I don't want to. Oh, the financial aid. That would be a good one to talk about. The financial aid. As far as the other item, just to let you know, during this section, we can't actually talk back to you, which is kind of inconvenient, but you are on the agenda for item A, so you're going to be part of that conversation. So you'll be able to address that as part of that conversation.
Okay.
So, but if you'd like to talk about motion or item B, that would be.
Only thing on item B is I've done Meals on Wheels for over 10 years now, which is, of course, the ARC is directly associated with, and it keeps it going. We deliver a lot of meals to inside of Kingston Springs. I do myself up to 6 every 2 times a week. ARC, as you all know, is a great organization. I think it's fantastic, and I'm all behind them, and I hope the commission is all behind them. As far as item A goes, I don't say anything now about that. Is that correct, Tony?
Well, what I was, you'll be able to be part of that conversation when we get to that. That's what you're on the agenda tonight, so you don't have to. You're actually part of the conversation, not just public input. So
I'll try to stay not being part of the conversation, but I'll do that in this case. Thank you, Tony.
All right. Is there anyone else with public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Rogers.
Thank you. All right. I guess there's not. We can move on to department reports. John, you got anything to add to this?
I don't believe so, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to echo the comments on our public works and public safety departments. They've done an outstanding job, worked many overtime hours, and given 110%. So they are greatly appreciated. And it's really nice to see that support that they've been getting across the board from the community as well.
Very good. All right. Legal updates. Martha Brooke.
Unmute myself. Thank you, Mayor. I don't have anything tonight. I will be joining you all on Saturday during our winter retreat and have a couple of different items on the agenda with you guys. So I look forward to talking with you guys then.
Very good. Very good. All right, we can move on to unfinished business. And item A is a motion to approve on second reading ordinance 21-001, amending certain provisions of the town of Kingston Springs Municipal Code, zoning ordinances, sign ordinance, and other ordinances and resolutions to provide for a comprehensive list of fees to be set forth in Appendix A to the town of Kingston Springs Municipal Code. Do we have a motion to approve on second reading?
I make a motion that we approve ordinance 21-001.
Do we have a second?
Second, Glenn.
All right, is there any discussion?
I had a question. This is Carolyn. On this is just kind of a proposal just due to form. I know there are some fee changes on here that are proposed for January 21. If this gets implemented, does this lock in the fees at this amount, or can we come back and revisit fees at another point in time?
Oh, if I could jump in on that one. Commissioner Clark, yes, when you, if you adopt this tonight on second reading, this will be the fees moving once it becomes effective, which will be upon publication. But you are at any point in time able to go back and review fees. Now, certain ones of them, may have certain restrictions on them, kind of like your adequate facility tax, which we'll get into on Saturday. But yes, you at any time have the right to come back and readjust as necessary.
Thank you. And Sharon, I had a question of you, if it's possible.
Sure.
Looks like there's a new fee implemented for the commercial building permits, changing it from the 1% of current ICC valuation table. I've tried to find that information so I could understand that myself, and I'm just not able to find that. And I guess it's being increased to 75 cents per square foot. What does that mean in terms of dollars? Say if you had a 2,000 square foot commercial building worth $400,000, what would the difference be between the 1% UCC value and 75 cents per square foot?
Actually, the fee that was put in place most recently prior to this one, Commissioner Clark, had a 75 cents per square foot building permit fee and a 1% ICC valuation. So this actually
is there both of them now?
Pardon?
Is there both now, or is it either or?
No, the ICC fee of 1% has been eliminated with this ordinance.
Okay. So is that a reduction in fees?
It is.
It is.
That reduction to the applicant. After much discussion with the city manager and Debbie Finch, who runs our finance department, we recommended to the city commission on the first reading that those fees for commercial development were somewhat cost prohibitive for the applicants. And there's really no, it was a change from the previous fee schedule. This puts it back where it used to be.
Okay. So it will be a drop in revenue for the city then?
There will be a drop in revenues, but those revenues have not been collected other than on very minor projects in the interim period where this ordinance, the previous ordinance was in place.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Is there anything else? We have a motion.
I might add for Commissioner Clark as well, that this is also the result, Commissioner Clark, of the fact that we no longer have a contract building inspector. The county is now doing our building inspections. So our overhead for plan reviews and the cost for inspections has been reduced.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
John, we've got a motion and a second. Could you please call the roll?
Carolyn Clark,
Yes.
Josh Adderley, absent Tony Gross,
Yes.
Mike Hargis,
Yes.
Glenn Remick.
Yes.
Okay, the next item is the motion to approve forwarding a proposal concerning conversion of South Harpeth Road Bridge over Brush Creek into a temporary one-lane usage received from William Roger and Stephen Mayer to TDOT for review and comment. So this Mr. Rogers would be an opportunity for you to also speak. And I believe, do we have, or John, I'll let you chime in here really quick, because I believe, do we have any other interested parties here to provide with information?
We had,
Yes.
please go ahead.
I think that's just background noise, John. You can go on.
Okay, so this was presented to the commission for request of Commissioner Clark. We had requested we had reached out, as we had spoken in the past, to a couple of engineering firms to look at the possibility of changing this into a one-lane bridge, and received some feedback from them. I spoke with one of them, Mr. Sullivan, who I had hoped would be on the call to answer some additional questions should we have some, but I don't see him here at the moment.
Okay. All right. Well then, Mr. Rogers, would you like to kind of go through your proposal here? I think we've all had a chance to read it in the packet as well, and John's got it on the screen. You should have it on your email.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for looking at this. Steve and I have spent quite a few hours, quite a few days, along with Commissioner Clark's guidance to put this proposal together. We feel like it answers all of TDOT's questions. One question that will probably be thrown back at us, of course, is the cross frames. So there were two major things that TDOT didn't like, and that's the two outside deteriorated beams and the lack of cross frames in the spans. We feel like that of course, we're eliminating the outside deteriorated beams by one-laning, putting the one lane in the middle of the bridge. That leaves us 4 steel beams that are going to hold the traffic. Actually, the traffic will probably only be riding on 3 of them, but there'll be 4 there that are actually part of the structure that's holding up the one-lane traffic. We feel like that these beams being less than 2 foot in depth and being there for a long period of time, that one lane is taken half by slowing the traffic down and taking the impact of the bridge of the traffic on the bridge off. That's going to satisfy no cross frames on these beams. The cross frames basically will keep the beams from twisting. It keeps it into one unit, makes it all one unit. So we feel like in this case that the concrete deck, which looks like, since it's overlaid with asphalt, looks like it's still in good condition. We have no deteriorated asphalt on top that's showing, and usually if your concrete deck is coming apart, your asphalt's going to come apart too. So we feel like that even though we can't see the deck, that the concrete's still good there, and that it will stabilize these short beams to make it one unit and without the use of cross frames. So we've gone in here and think we've come up with a good proposal to answer all of TDOT's questions. We know that there are other bridges, even a bridge on the detour that's 60 feet long. The beams are over 3 feet tall with no cross frames. So we don't feel like this bridge is any different than the bridge that's right out in front of my house here that's 35 feet long with no cross frames, and the beams are over 2 foot depth. So we don't feel like that this bridge is any different from the other bridges in the county and the city that are, that are still doing well with the traffic. We need to get TDOT if we can, in the commission, of course, you need to approve this, of course, it's your bridge. If we can get this approval to one lane on a temporary basis. Granted, if it was a long-term basis, we're looking at redoing this bridge, as I know John has been through and the city has been through, and I'm sure y'all have added up money figures on whether it's worthwhile rebuilding or building a new one. And thank goodness we're going to build a new one, because even though the substructure of this bridge is extremely sound, there's no deterioration, no cracks, no spalling. The only problem we have on substructure at all is 1 footer on the only bent that's there. And that footer does need to be protected with some riprap, like we're going to propose to put in all 4 corners. It's sound. There's no cracking in the column, no cracking in the cap. So we feel like that's very sound too. We feel like the only thing that TDOT could possibly look at us for is the cross frames, and we think we've answered that question on a temporary basis. And we're looking at a temporary of 2 to 4 years, probably before we can replace this bridge. And I think on a temporary basis, I think we've answered all of TDOT's questions. I'll be glad to answer anybody's questions that they might have on this. We've spent a lot of time looking at it, and we think that our proposal is sound. And thank you for letting us present it.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Rogers?
Yeah, I got one for Bill. What does a fire truck weigh fully loaded with water?
A fire truck, well, of course, I'm not a fireman, but the fires that I get to most of the time, I think they're probably not fully loaded with water, and you can correct me there, Mike, but I think they hook up to fire hydrants and finish loading. But anyway, the fire truck, as I pointed out in our proposal, we had a fire right out here. I questioned the fireman on that, and it was from Pegram. His truck weighs 45,000 pounds. It plus. So you're looking at 23 tons, which officially right now, that bridge has got a 21-ton load limit on it. So if a fire truck really...
It's got an 8-ton load limit right now.
I'm sorry?
It's an 8-ton load limit right now.
Well, on the bridge, on the Brush Creek Bridge, there's a picture in there, I believe, and it's showing 12 tons for single axle.
On Brush Creek. On Brush Creek, okay. On Brush Creek, yes. Yes.
On the bridge that's been shut down.
The bridge that has been shut down is down to 8 tons.
Well, it needs to be down to 8 tons. The sign needs to be changed then that's on there if it wasn't shut down. It's right now the signs are showing 12 ton and 21 tons.
Yeah, well, yeah, there was lower to 8 ton a while back. Yeah, like I said, I didn't know the sign had never been changed, but yeah.
They didn't. They haven't changed the sign. The sign's still there, and I think it's even in some pictures that we even sent out. But anyway, yeah, fire trucks, Mike, is over 45,000 pounds. Now, I questioned Pegram's fire people, and I brought up the possibility of this being one lane and down to 8 to 9 tons. Glenn, is whatever that the city would look at, and he said they do have brush trucks that can cross these areas and fight the fires, you know, with a smaller truck.
And Chief,
Chief Ivy, you're on here, right?
I am, and I have the information on our trucks. The tanker weighs 28 tons, and we would have to have that in that area because of the hydrants. And the engine weighs 23 tons, and we do not have a smaller truck that we could use. We don't have a brush truck, and even with a brush truck, it does not provide enough gallons per minute to fight a structure.
So it was good for brush fire.
I mean, the brush truck would be good for woods fires or vehicle fires maybe, but no structure fires.
Wouldn't it help?
Wouldn't it help? Well, we don't have one, so even in, you know, in that situation, we don't have one to take.
Well, Pegram does, right? I guess, or just
Yeah, Pegram does.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
the one thing that I think, as far as what Bill is saying about presenting this to TDOT too, is that TDOT has pretty much the section that's in that first page there. TDOT has already said that the bracing would be adequate for Mr. Rogers is proposing for just the inner beams there, and they also said they would give a courtesy load rating, you know, if they did approve this, and for them to come out and see how much it would hold. And I know that probably at least, you know, an EMS truck would be able to get across, I would think, at that, even a lower weight.
One other question, Bill, if you don't mind.
Mind bit.
How much do you know, I know you've got extensive experience in bridge building and bridge repair. How much do you think it would cost to do what you're talking about, to take it down to one lane and put the riprap in and, you know, make it where TDOT might not have objections to a one lane?
We think that it depended, and I don't know how much the city's got as far as traffic control goes. If we had to buy everything, and I'm proposing, of course, riprap in all four corners due to the deterioration that's there now in the washout. It needs to be done if we use barrels, because barrels aren't a solid barrier. So if anybody does knock a barrier down, we don't want them falling into a hole. So we need to go ahead and safe up all four corners. We need to buy the barrels and have it striped and the signing, and we think it'll cost anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000. Now that's just materials.
Right.
There would be labor, of course, on top of that, and equipment.
Would it be some engineering costs as well?
I don't foresee any engineering costs.
Okay.
If I could jump in there with respect to your question, Mike, you know, engineering costs, the town would need to have its engineer look at and review and advise. And, you know, while I appreciate the expertise, Mr. Roger, of you and your firm, the town would need to have an engineer that it hired for liability purposes, to be quite honest,
Right.
to look back on.
Yeah.
Is there well, any other questions or comments? I mean, on the whole, I don't see a problem necessarily personally submitting a plan to TDOT to see what the response is. I don't know that it would hurt anything, unless I'm wrong about this. I don't know what your thoughts are, Martha Brooke, from a legal perspective or whatnot. I mean, if there's no harm in it, I don't see why not to do it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you, it never hurts to ask. And if you've got, you know, engineers that are, you know, responsible back to the town, you know, that look at it and say, yes, this is doable. And, you know, Mr. Rogers is exactly right. And we can hang our hat on them. You know, there shouldn't be any problem. If and again, as Commissioner Clark pointed out, you know, TDOT is going to be out there looking at it. They're going to be giving their opinion, you know, their load limit determinations on it. So, you know, I think so long as the town proceeds with it in a very cautious, but yet, you know, detailed and, you know, professionally backed up way, I think you'd be fine.
Okay.
Of course, Ms. Perry, we're not proposing to change this bridge at all the way it's been for 50 years. The liability that was there before we closed it down looks to me like is the same liability that we have if we open it back up again. But that's a layman. I'm not a lawyer.
Sure. Hey, us lawyers like to hang people up on all kinds of things. And so, you know, just from that liability perspective, you know, we know a problem is there. We know it's been shut down, and these are TDOT's recommendations. And so, you know, we want to be sure that, you know, I think you are the exception to the rule on this board tonight as far as having any kind of familiarity or proficiency in bridge work. So I think the town would be, you know, sure that it would need to have some advisement, independent advisement on that, just to cover its basis.
One issue I see is making it a one lane, and then how do you manage that one lane system? I believe we'd have to purchase some sort of lighting. We would have to red light, green light situation to control the traffic.
Glenn, what we're proposing as in the proposal, we're proposing putting a sign up on the existing, and we use existing type 3 barricades because they're already out there with a road closed sign on it, just trying to save us some money. Put a sign there, yield, one lane bridge, yield to traffic. This bridge has got good view from one end to the other. We propose that the detour signs will have an advanced warning signs that it's a one lane bridge and to yield the traffic. Therefore, when they approach the bridge, people will slow down due to the barrels and the striping and taper into that point. And if you see somebody across the road, unless you want to be really tough about it, you back off, let them cross, or they let you cross. So it's a yield to one lane traffic type situation. We can put type C blinking lights on the type 3 barricades for warning. The TDOT's done away with a lot of those. They used to use them a lot, but don't use them much anymore. But as far as lighting goes, we're not proposing anything, just signage. Does that answer your question, Glenn?
Yes.
I mean, just out of personal experience, I can think of situations where there's a similar situation in Nashville that I go through every day, picking Sophie up from dance, and it's permanent, and it's just a one-way thing like that. You have only one car can pass through at a time. You just let the one car pass through, and then the other one lets you pass through. And I've never seen any problem with it, and it's probably at a spot that has more traffic than this road does. So
Newsom Station's got that little one lane underpass, of course, and it has no visibility on any approaches. So anyway, that's what our proposal is, and I think it would work very easily.
All right. Well, is there any other discussion from the board? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second to approve sending this to TDOT to look at?
Yeah, I don't think it hurts anything to send it. I second that motion.
All right. John, could you please call the roll?
Carolyn Clark.
Yes.
Josh Etherly's absent. Tony Gross.
Yes.
Mike Hargis,
Yes.
Lynn Remick.
Yes.
All right. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Lee, for sending us this proposal and spending some time with us this evening.
Thank you, Bill.
Rogers, gosh, I said Lee. I don't know where I'm thinking of the governor, I guess. Sorry. All right.
Thank you, Bill.
Item B is a motion to approve Resolution 20-002 authorizing appropriations for financial aid to the ARC, a nonprofit organization whose services benefit the general welfare of the residents of this municipality, and the amount of $4,000. So, John, did you want to add anything to this before we get into voting for it?
No, sir. The only thing I would like to add is the money has been allocated. It is in the budget.
Yeah. It's an excellent organization. I mean, it's especially with the pandemic that we've been going through over almost a year now. The ARC has really stepped up to the plate and helped a lot of people. That's always my go-to. People ask me a lot. They're like, where should I give money? And I'm always like, the ARC is doing the most good for the most people in Cheatham County right now. Or in south side of Cheatham County. Do we have a motion to approve Resolution 21-002?
Motion to approve, Glenn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Carolyn.
Yep. Go ahead, Karen. I'm sorry.
And a third. Second and a third.
Carolyn, you got to talk loud. We're all loud.
Sorry.
All right, we have a first and a second. John, could you call the roll?
Carolyn Clark,
Yes.
Josh Etherly's absent. Tony Gross,
Yes.
Mike Hargis,
Yes.
Lynn Remick.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Item C is a motion to approve staff waiving city park ball field usage fees with the exception of fees for field lighting for the Cheatham County Board of Education, Harpeth Middle School baseball team for the spring 2021 baseball season.
I'll start off, Mayor Gross, and let Brandy jump in if she would like, but the Board of Education, specifically the Harpeth Middle School baseball team, has asked us to use the field at City Park. Because it's the Board of Education, we would like to support them other than the actual cost of running the field lights, which we would still charge because we are going to have to pay for that electricity. But otherwise, there's really no cost to the town. The only thing that we would need to do would be to up our schedule for prepping that ball field for usage, which is something that we're going to have to do anyway. It's just going to bring us up another month or so in advance. They would probably use the field 4 or 5 days a week through the month of March, and then periodically through the first few weeks of April when they had or didn't have games, and they would practice in between games.
Very good. All right, do we have
Would there be a bathrooms for them to utilize?
Yes, when we are able to open the bathrooms back up after the cold snap, and that's usually sometime in the month of March. But we've informed the teams that right now the bathrooms are closed.
Is there a set time frame for them to utilize these fields and allow other people to use them too, or does we just signing this off to the school? I mean, can the public use these fields at a certain time, or?
Yes, the public can always use those fields. They're open fields. The middle school would be using them primarily in the afternoons for practice, but if there are other people on the field, we usually have reservations for those. And Brandy,
Okay.
You can jump in if you want, but we usually have reservations for those fields when people, as in organized groups, are using those rather than just a pickup game that came through the community.
Gotcha. Okay. I think it's fantastic that we're working with the school and supporting athletics.
All right, do we have sorry, my dog decided he didn't want to be in this room anymore. Do we have a motion to approve waiving the fees for the middle school?
I make a
Motion to
motion.
approve.
Go ahead, Glenn.
Motion to approve, Glenn.
Okay, and the second was Mike?
Sure.
Okay. All right. John, could you please call the roll?
Carolyn Clark,
Yes.
Josh Heatherly's absent, Tony Gross,
Yes.
Mike Hargis,
Yes.
Ben Remick.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Item D is a motion to approve acceptance of $243,537.50 in additional funding from TDOT for the town's multimodal grant and updating the current contract to reflect the additional funding. So this is actually, I was very pleased that we were able to get this funding and very pleasantly surprised, I guess. But John, would you like to share a little bit more about the process? We spoke about it last time, that this was a possibility, and it turns out it was a real possibility that happened. So.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As everyone will remember, the multimodal grant, the bids for construction came back quite a bit higher than the town had anticipated them coming back. The total for that grant project was a little over $500,000. Multimodal grants are maxed out at, they're capped at $1 million for that grant. We had taken the liberty, Laura Lee Page from Community Development Partners, and I took the liberty of writing a letter to TDOT's multimodal department asking for some additional fundage. TDOT came back and indicated that they would allow us this amount additional grant money for multimodal. So we need to approve that, and then approve that we can update the contract with TDOT that will recognize these additional funds.
Right.
John, one question. Did I read someplace that we're going to change the original plan from a 10-foot sidewalk on one side to 5 on both sides instead of a 10 and a 5?
We were looking at, because the bids for construction came back so high, and TDOT decided not to concur because they were a lot higher than their, even TDOT anticipated those bids to be. We recognize the fact that rebidding that project as it was, we weren't, in this state of affairs, we weren't not going to get any lower bids coming back from construction companies. So we looked at it in two different directions. One was requesting additional funding from TDOT, and two was not altering the scope of the project, but altering the design of the project somewhat that would reduce the costs, the overall costs of the project. When this grant was initially introduced, the multimodal requirement was to have a 10-foot sidewalk on one side, at least one side of the project site. That requirement's no longer there. So it would help reduce the cost of the project. Right now, our engineers are estimating somewhere between $30,000 and $40,000 to reduce that 10-foot sidewalk to a 6-foot sidewalk. And then there was a 5-foot sidewalk on the other side, and we would make that a 6-foot sidewalk to kind of even things out.
Okay, so does that decrease then by that same amount that the city would owe on this?
Yes, sir. Well, if I understand your question correctly, yes. So if just to throw out numbers to say, if that construction bid that came back was $800,000, if we redesigned that sidewalk rather than a 10-foot to a 6-foot, then those material costs and some of that construction cost would come down. So we would anticipate then that the next rounds of bids would be less. That specific amount, it's hard to tell the way that construction's going these days, but that was the thought. So
if it lowers the total, then, and they up their participation by $250,000, that puts them at what total participation from TDOT?
Quick
Is
check.
that 700,000 or so, 750? No? Because before it was $500,000 and $500,000. We owed a half, they owed a half.
Right.
We talked last time.
Yes, sir. Initially, the grant was maxed, and I'm trying to do this from recollection and off the top of my head. So
Ballpark's okay.
the initial grant was somewhere just north of $500,000. It was a 95.5 grant. So TDOT was on there for, let's just say $450,000 $50,000. My math's probably not right there, but it's pretty close. So this would be 4, 5, 6. Yes, sir, almost $700,000 from TDOT. And then the town would pick up anything above that. My estimate then, in a very rough ballpark, because of the way the bids came back initially, it's really hard to judge and guess what they're going to come back a second time. But my guess would be that the town would then be somewhere about 200, 250.
Okay. All right.
So it's going to cut what we were looking at last time in half, basically.
Yes, sir.
That's what I'm getting at. Okay.
Yeah. That's the goal anyway.
All right.
Which, you know, that's certainly better than nothing. So,
Mhm. Yeah, a lot better.
a lot better.
It's
Yeah.
fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you, John.
John, I had another question.
Yes, ma'am.
We talked about before, you had sent me an email and asked a question about changing the sidewalk size. Now, if it goes to 5 feet, is it going to move it in terms of moving it closer to the road, the sidewalk? Will the green space still be there between a curb and a sidewalk? Or will it stay fixed where it was proposed to be in the first place?
It would stay fixed where it was supposed to be in the first place. The only difference would be the width of the sidewalk, the location of the sidewalk, the green space, the egress, the ingress would all stay the same.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve accepting this $243,537.50 additional funding and updating the current contract to reflect the additional funding?
I make a motion, we accept it.
Do we have a second?
Second, Glenn.
Is there any additional comments, questions, discussion?
Is 6 the minimum, John? That you can't match them up 5 and 5? They has to be 6 and 5?
That's my understanding, that the smallest width right now that TDOT will entertain is 6 foot. for
Which
both.
side has the 6 foot?
They'll be both, right now they will, with the new design, they would both be 6 foot. Right
Okay.
now, initially, the 10 foot was going to be on the side with the post office, the Sonic, and the Thornton side.
Okay.
So
So they'll be, okay.
Not to drag this out too long, but what about this section of what is the width on the section of sidewalk that Thornton's installed?
That I don't know, but I believe that was calculated when we received the bids from the contractors on construction. I believe that they took that into consideration, that portion of sidewalk had already been constructed.
I'm just saying, is the width of that sidewalk going to match up with the width of the sidewalk?
No, there will be a transition there.
Okay, so it'll narrow, I guess. It'll be go from a 6 foot to a 5 foot section at that point, or?
I'm sorry. I thought you were thinking of linear, but you're thinking of width of the sidewalk. I do believe the Thornton's is, I want to say it's 8 feet. It could be a full 10.
I can remember what. Okay.
So, but yes, sir. It would go from let's say it is 8. It would go from 8 to 6. That transition would.
Okay. All right. We have a motion and a second. Is there anything else? All right. John, could you call the roll?
Carolyn Clark.
Yes.
Josh Etherly's absent. Tony Gross.
Yes.
Mike Hargis.
Yes.
Glenn Remick.
Yes.
All right. Motion passes. Item E is a motion to approve entering into an agreement with Allen Hoschel for construction engineering service. I hope I got that name right. Engineering services related to the installation of the Lundy Cup sculpture. And we've approved funding for this already, correct, John? So
That is correct. We had approved some additional funding for Mr. Cup sculpture. The statue is complete. We want to make sure that it is installed correctly so that it is sturdy and will be there long past all of us. So we have reached out to a couple of structural engineers to get their thoughts and opinions. This group is local. They are structural engineers. They also do this type of work for Metro. So we feel very confident in their abilities. They have also given us a very good price for their services to make sure that this sculpture in front of the library will be there forever. So we will receive stamped plans from the structural engineer along with their assistance in making sure that this sculpture is mounted firmly and correctly.
Do we have a motion?
Motion, Glenn.
Second?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. I think, did we allot a 2,500 for this in the meeting before last? And if so, is there a possibility that this estimated fee could be over that at all? Or is this a static fee that's not going to change I'm reading the responsibilities for construction costs. And is there a possibility it might go over and above that?
No, to answer, I guess, two questions. One, yes, we did approve, I believe, 2,500 for the additional cost of installing the sculpture. The contract with Allen and Hoschel is static, so it would be $1,200 for that. Any additional funding we would need and will need a crane to pick that sculpture up and place it. One of the couple of mounting mechanisms that are planned to be used would be a pole that's mounted deep into the ground that will go through the center of the sculpture along with bracing on the exterior in a concrete pad. So we'll need a crane rental to pull that up and over. So some additional funding will need to be used for that crane, but this cost will be static.
Thank you.
Oh, we did have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconds, Carolyn. Are there any discussion?
Thank you, Keith Seagraves.
Hearing none, then John, could you please call the roll?
Carolyn Clark,
Yes.
Josh Heatherly is absent. Tony Gross,
Yes.
Mike Hargis,
Yes.
Lynn Remick.
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay. Item F is a motion to approve Second South Cheatham Utility District to refund secondary meter in the amount of $69.30.
We had received information from Second South Cheatham Utility District that, if you remember, in December, I do believe it was, we had refunded secondary meters. They had omitted an account from that list. They had found out just the first of this month, and that's this account that you can see here for $69.30.
Very good. Do we have a motion to approve refunding the secondary meter?
Motion to approve. Glenn.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
Mike. Second, Mike.
I think Carolyn got that one first, John. All right. Could you call the roll, John?
Carolyn Clark,
Yes.
Josh Heatherly is absent. Tony Gross,
Yes.
Mike Hargis,
Yes.
Lynn Remick.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Item G is a motion to approve Kingston Springs Regional Planning Commission recommendation of Tony Campbell, Mike Patnode, and Josh Etherly to serve on the Kingston Springs Growth Plan Coordinating Committee. And then, John, maybe you would like to explain what's going on as far as the coordinate the opening of the growth plan and all that really quickly. We'll go over more of this tomorrow night as well with Sharon. But,
And if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor, since Sharon is available on the call tonight, she'll
oh yeah, there
have
we go.
more information. I'll defer to Sharon.
That's a good idea.
Cheatham County government voted in their last commission meeting to open the growth plan, which was approved in the year 2000 and then approved by the state. We are required to participate in that process as a jurisdiction. During the last planning commission meeting, I asked for recommendations to serve on the planning commission committee for the growth plan, since it's open, to make recommendations to the county and the coordinating committee. Those recommendations were for the chairman of the planning commission, Mike Patnode, for Tony Campbell, because he probably has the most institutional memory of the growth planning process within our city, and also for Josh Etherly to serve, one, because he's a new planning commissioner, and two, because he is involved in business and trade. So he'll bring a perspective as well as the other two that we might not otherwise get. The process is, so far, the county has suggested, and I think they're correct, that the city will meet, determine what its needs are with respect to the revision of the growth plan, the updated growth plan. It's now 20 years old. And then submit those to the coordinating committee that the county intends to convene within 30 to 45 days. That's a really tight process for meetings to decide what our determination for the city's future is. And then we'll make that recommendation both to the planning commission for the city and then to the city commission. And then from there, it will be forwarded to the coordinating committee. It's a really short window. Once that coordinating committee gets it, they have 6 months to review, make their recommendation to the county commission and all of the jurisdictions for adoption. If there are issues to be worked out, there are mechanisms within statutes to do that. But it is a really short window of time to look at this. We do have several things that I am suggesting that we look at. Among them, the size and area of our urban growth boundary. Within that region, we have several jurisdictional boundary issues that need to be resolved, and we have parcels that have been cut in half by the growth boundary that need to be explored, and there are just some general things within the plan. The plan was very minimal, and I think that both John and Martha Brooke would agree that it was the basic element that was required to meet the state requirement to produce one. We'll discuss this in more detail tomorrow evening when I join you at the retreat, but we're asking for the city commission to confirm those recommendations for the growth plan committee on behalf of the town of Kingston Springs.
Sharon, can I jump in there? Did we also want to cover, as you and I discussed this afternoon, the statute has the mayor or mayor designee that also has to be approved by the town. Do we also want to go ahead and do that tonight, or do you anticipate there being enough time between now and the next city commission meeting?
I don't, because the county intends to open it up 30 to 45 days, which puts us on a pretty narrow path. Martha Burke and I revisited the legislation this afternoon. There were some amendments done to it since the previous or the original adoption of the growth plan legislation by the state. Mayor, you are the only representative on the coordinating committee or your designee. There is only one.
Oh, okay.
Only one individual from Kingston Springs or the designee. What the county executive has suggested is that each of the cities produce what they feel to be the changes that they're suitable for their jurisdictions, and then submit those to the coordinating committee, which will convene in 30 to 45 days. So if we wait a month for that appointment to the coordinating committee, that gives us zero input, more or less, on the process.
So Martha Brooke, what are you asking? So you're asking to add
Sure.
the appointment of what again? Sorry.
Sure. So basically your motion would be to approve Tony Campbell, Mike Padnode, and Josh Etherly to the Kingston Springs Coordinating Committee that's going to serve as the advisory board for the town, getting prepared for when the county-wide coordinating committee is called. And so I would recommend including in that motion the appointment of you as the mayor to be the town's representative to the county-wide coordinating committee.
Okay.
Tony, you have, or I'm sorry, Mayor, you have the option, the only option that you have for the town of Kingston Springs on behalf of the broader coordinating committee is yourself or a designee.
Okay.
That's it.
Either one of which even though you're mayor, you still have to have that approval by the board. So that's why I would, recommend that it just go part and parcel in this motion.
So it's a motion that we have to make for something that we would have to, we can't not make.
Right.
We're looking at two separate motions, if I might, Mayor. One is the first motion to approve the recommendation of the Planning Commission for Chairman Padnode, Tony Campbell, and Josh Etherly is for the Kingston Springs City. coordinating committee. We will have our own coordinating committee here. We'll do the work as quickly and rapidly as we can to meet that 30 to 45 day coordinating committee deadline for the county. It's the broader county-wide. So if you make the motion first, I would recommend that we approve the members for the Kingston Springs Coordinating Committee, those 3 members, and then consider a motion for your appointment or your designee as the appointment to the broader county Coordinating Committee.
Very good. Okay.
Okay, that way we can keep it nice and clean.
Got it all. Two separate motions. Okay. Well, then do we have a motion to approve Tony Campbell, Mike Patnode, and Josh Etherly to serve on the Kingston Springs Growth Plan Coordinating Committee?
I make a motion, we approve those 3 gentlemen.
I'll second it. Glenn?
John, could you please call the roll?
Carolyn Clark,
Yes.
Josh Etherly is absent. Tony Gross,
Yes.
Mike Hargis,
Yes.
Ben Remick.
Yes.
All right. Motion is approved. The second motion would be to appoint the mayor or his designee to serve on the county.
County-wide, I believe is the language that's used.
What was that again?
County-wide coordinating
The
committee.
county-wide coordinating committee. Do we have a motion for what Sharon said?
And if I can put in there, your designee would have to be specifically named.
Okay. Well, I mean, this kind of gives me, and if we have a designee, could this person work interchangeably, I guess, in this process? I mean, should we have a designee as well?
The way the statute reads is city mayor or designee as appointed by the municipal board, the legislative body of the municipality. So it's one representative is how I interpret the statute.
Okay.
Or it could be Josh, right?
It could be, or I think that it could be Sharon, or it could be any number of people. I was already fully intending to participate in this process. I just didn't realize I was the only one that was participating in the process of the countywide. So I don't mind being the representative. I just because this language is new to me from when we last spoke last week about it.
Well, if you can make a designee, Sharon would be great. That'd be fine with me.
Well, that would be, yeah, we could, I believe, could we do that, Sharon?
You can. You can appoint whomever you like as your designee to that. I will be involved with the coordinating committee for the city anyway, but that's a choice that the board needs to make.
Okay. So your Sharon's involvement, John's involvement, these they're there. So yeah, they just aren't actually the representative, I guess.
You're just effectively appointing the face that appears before the countywide board, to bring forth what your city council, or I'm sorry, your city coordinating committee has recommended.
I think the point that the city attorney is making, Mayor, is the designee to the countywide coordinating committee is the person who will carry forth the desires of the city.
Correct.
To have them included in the broader joint conference.
It is who brings the work of this the Tony Campbell, Mike Patton, and Josh Etherly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. All right, do we have a motion?
Motion, Glenn.
Is this a motion to appoint you, Tony, as the representative?
Well, I don't know. Is that what your motion was, Glenn?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, Carolyn.
All right. John, could you please call the roll?
Carolyn Clark,
Yes.
Josh Etherly is absent. Tony Gross,
Yes.
Mike Hargis,
Yes.
Ben Remick.
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes. All right. Item H is a motion to approve first reading of ordinance 21-002, amending provisions of the Title 12, Chapter 3, Section 12-302, and Title 13, Chapter 1, Section 13-105 of the Town of Kingston Springs Municipal Code. John, do you want to
Yes, if I may, I'll start off and then turn it over to Martha Brooke for some additional information. But the impetus to this is twofold. One is, you'll remember in November, we had passed a couple of ordinances that we were basically cleaning up some language to make sure that the municipal code, the zoning, and the different chapters, titles in the municipal code added and matched up. This is a little bit more of that. And the second piece in here is that this specifically indicated the building inspector on this title, specifically indicated the building inspector as the codes enforcement person. So we now do not have a specific building inspector contracted with the town. We use the Cheatham County building department. And so we wanted to clean that up. So it says codes official. That also matches the International Codes Council that we use as well. So that's sort of the broad picture. Martha Brooke, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
Sure. So within your different ordinances with respect to enforcing property maintenance codes, building codes, et cetera, the council, they're the ones that say, okay, this officer is the one that is going to have the enforcement provisions, the one that would be able to write citations, bring things up for review before either our administrative hearing officer or municipal judge, et cetera. Your charter has your city manager being the one who actually appoints that individual to serve in that officer capacity and to administer that. So what you're doing is you are saying, okay, when we're looking at, for example, the international property maintenance code books, throughout that book it references a codes official. We are specifically saying, okay, our codes official is the codes official. We're now going to use that same name here in Kingston Springs that's appointed by our city manager. And then Sharon had caught that, as John just mentioned, that we still had the building inspector listed as the person to do enforcement of some of our property maintenance codes. And so we are now inserting codes official. We're going to be using that title going forward and getting that cleaned up as well.
And once we get this, how soon will we be able to get a codes official in place, I assume?
So this is on reading here. So it's an ordinance change. So it will be two readings.
Two readings before we're
Yeah.
even in a position to have somebody in place. Okay.
Right. I mean, technically, you can use, whoever's serving at the capacity of building inspector, because you do have that ability under Title 13. Under Title 12, I think we had, we have somebody in that position already. We are just changing basically the title on that. So, I think we technically could get there, but to be absolutely sure where, someone can't contest the authority of a citation issuing person, I think you'd be cleaner to wait through the second reading.
Okay. And Sharon, so because we've discussed this too, that this addresses your concerns, correct?
It is. My concern is that as the notice of violations and other issues that have to be settled, if it goes that far to a hearing, those are all titled code official. In some jurisdictions, the building official, who is a singular person, handles it. In the county, it's the codes official. This is consistent with the provisions of the ICC Property Maintenance Code. That's the title that is used. The language in the ICC Property Maintenance Code specifically says it shall be the code's official. So we need to make sure that title is consistent so that it doesn't surface under a challenge from somebody.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve on first reading ordinance 21-002?
Motion to approve, Glenn.
Do we have a second?
Second, Carol.
Is there any other discussion? All right. John, could you call the roll?
Carolyn Clark,
Yes.
Josh Heatherly's absent. Tony Gross,
Yes.
Mike Hargis,
Yes.
Glenn Remick.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Item I is a motion to approve acceptance of $200 donation to the Kingston Springs Volunteer Fire Department. I guess that's, is there anything you would like to add, John, or is it just is what it is?
It is what it is. The donor wishes to remain anonymous.
Okay, very good. Do we have a motion to accept the $200 donation?
Motion to accept.
All right.
Go ahead, Glenn.
Motion to accept, Glenn.
John or Mike, are you second?
Second, Mike.
Okay. John, could you please call the roll?
Carolyn Clark,
Yes.
Josh Etherly's absent. Tony Gross,
Yes.
Mike Hargis,
Yes.
Glenn Remick.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Item J is a motion to approve $4,492.80 to pay TDOT for the community transportation for our part of the community transportation planning grant.
Yeah, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for adding this to the agenda this evening. We just received this dollar amount from TDOT in an email today. This money has been appropriated and allocated in the current budget. Actually, we had, I think, up to $6,000 in the budget. So this is a 10% our match for the basically what we'll call the corridor study. We'll talk about that a little bit more in retreat as well. Sharon and I were participants in group discussion with our consulting firm and with TDOT, and I think we're off to a good start.
Very good. And this now goes all the way out to Highway 70 on Kingston Springs Road as far as the study is concerned, correct?
That is our hopes, yes. We will keep plugging away.
So that's our hope, or is that's not our reality? Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right now, it's not. As far as the consultant is concerned, their scope on this project is just Lubin Hills Road. However, in our discussions, Sharon and I both mentioned that this needs to be a much broader discussion, including 249 all the way out to Highway 70. I think Sharon had mentioned that the representative from TDOT jumped off the call for a minute, talked to their superiors. I do believe that it will take a few more discussions to make sure that that stretch is included in this scope, but we're pretty adamant, and Sharon, if you'd like to comment as well, but we're pretty adamant that the scope of the project that is just Lubin Hills Road is really not going to do us any good when you're looking at a corridor and all the feeders that come into that corridor.
Thank you, John. John is correct. If the scope is as narrow as the interstate exit and on-ramp and stops at Lubin Hills in the intersection to Kingston Springs Road, it's essentially a waste of planning time and money. We won't get sufficient traffic counts or information or data that'll produce a study that's usable. Ian Preston is the district engineer who's assigned to the project by TDOT. He did jump offline, came back, and indicated that his superiors were in support of broadening the study to Highway 70. So we're going to keep pushing that as hard as we can to get that done, because otherwise we're going to get another TPR that really carries no weight.
I guess my concern comes in the fact that we're approving $4,500 here to spend on something and we're not completely sure what the scope is. And, are we going to spend $4,500 and have a final work product that's useless to us?
I think that's a really valid point, Mayor. You hate to turn down a planning grant, because they're very difficult to get and few and far between for a TPR. However, could the motion maybe be considered, John, in a conditional way? Would you be comfortable with that, with another discussion? Because we're due to have another meeting relatively shortly, I think, and having them broaden that scope.
That's the will of the board. If that's the decision, that's definitely what we would take back to TDOT, indicating that we would, if that's the suggestion, that we would indicate our 10% with the condition that the scope of the study was enlarged to include the stretch of 249 to Highway 70.
Okay.
And if they said no,
That's a good point.
Yeah, well, we have no way of knowing, Mayor, to address your question, what the reaction will be. The consultant did not express a great deal of interest in broadening the scope. They took the project on with that scope, in writing. But I am, as John is, really confident in saying that if it stops at Kingston Springs Road, it produces a meaningless document.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. From my perspective, I think that we almost have to have that condition in there. I mean, there's just no really good reason to spend $4,500 without the to receive something that's not going to benefit the town. I mean, that's just wasting money, pure and simple. So that's
If I may, ask
that's
John,
my opinion for what it's worth.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. John, is there a deadline for the payment of the funds to
I was not presented with one, no.
Okay.
And it might be productive, Mr. Mayor, if the Board of Commissioners were to produce a letter strongly encouraging them to expand that study to Highway 70. They have been asking us to provide them with names of people who could serve on a public committee for this study. I think that business owners and other people would be extraordinarily interested in the outcome of in particular those that lie along both of those corridors. I think the school board has a keen interest in it. EMA has a keen interest in it. So I concur with you in that it's not particularly prudent to spend money when you're not getting the product that you need to move forward with. So, but it is at the will of the commission how you choose to deal with this. If we don't have a deadline, it may be prudent to wait until next month's meeting.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah, is there a way that we could, if there's
You could, Mayor, you could table this if we do find out after the fact that there is some kind of deadline. You can always do a special called meeting for the limited purpose of, this particular agenda item again, just have your adequate meeting notice.
Okay. Well, then why don't we, because if there's no rush on it that we know of right now, and of course you received it today, so presumably they know that we would possibly not get it on a meeting agenda anyway, and we're going to have some time to discuss this, and then hopefully you all can, Sharon and John, you can kind of pursue further expanding the scope of this project.
Very good.
So do we have a motion to table this item till the next month's meeting?
Motion to table.
Mark, do we have a second?
Second, Mike.
John, could you call the roll?
Carolyn Clark,
Yes.
Josh Etherly's absent, Tony Gross,
Yes.
Mike Hargis,
Yes.
Lynn Remington.
Yes.
Very good. All right.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I don't know if this is a time we discuss this tomorrow. I wouldn't mind spearheading a letter of sorts, a draft letter like Sharon suggested to send to TDOT for the commission to send.
Well, we can discuss it tomorrow, but yeah, let's look into that because I think it's we should probably do we need to do that so that we can make sure we're getting what we want from this or need from this, what we need from this, honestly. So, item 15 is surplusing. Let me just double check this with I'm pulling Martha Brooke in as my parliamentarian right now. Is it okay if we just surplus these all as a single vote since we're in a meeting?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Just have one
One motion?
reading out.
Yeah.
One motion and read it all into one motion.
I'll read it all in. Okay, so do we have a motion to surplus the City Hall Dynex television, which will be to discard the police department's 2010 Chevy Tahoe, VIN number 1GNUKAE00AR2635555 for scrap. Public Works refrigerator property ID 0791 for scrap. Public Works salt dog spreader for scrap. Public Works 2006 GMC 1500, VIN number 1GTEK14B66E184352 for scrap.
Motion to surplus.
Second? Do we have a second? Sorry, I wasn't seconding him.
Second, Carolyn.
All right, second. John, could you call the roll?
Carolyn Clark,
Yes.
Josh Etherly is absent. Tony Gross,
Yes.
Mike Hargis,
Yes.
Ben Remick.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. For discussion only, the Kingston Springs Regional Planning Commission has appointed Tony Campbell to the Kingston Springs Comprehensive Plan Commission. We'll discuss comprehensive plan once again. This is the line of the night. We'll discuss it tomorrow. And the reminder, of course, is tomorrow. So I will see you all tomorrow for the commission retreat, and then also again on Saturday.
Will there be snacks?
What time are we starting tomorrow?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, and we're still meeting down at the park?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? John,
Second.
call the roll.
Carolyn Clark,
Yes.
Josh Etherly is absent. Tony Gross,
Yes.
Mike Hargis,
Yes.
Ben Remick.
Yes.